Butter, you're the reason why I am my way. You're the reason why I rip my shirts, why I eat at the buffet. Butter, you got your very own kind of nice. We all live inside a butter world. Oh, butter, butter, gonna eat it by the stick tonight. Gonna eat out this world. Oh, butter, I'm about to take a bite, 'cause I want that salty cream. What I dream about all night. Butter dreaming. I'm about to take a bite, 'cause I want that salty cream. What I dream about all.
Welcome everyone to Monday Night Live with Butterfield,
Hey, what's
episode,
going on, everyone?
episode 21. We have
Yeah,
Mr. Anderson uh, over here, over
I
there,
identify as a stick of butter tonight. Thank you for using my pronouns. I am very
and
happy to be here. I'm a very happy piece of butter.
and Herson,
That's right.
Herson, Herson Butter.
Here's- yeah, welcome back to another episode of Monday Night Live with Butterfield. We are your number one source of animal based nutrition, fitness, education, and beyond, all delivered in a nice, politically incorrect package.
Absolutely, absolutely. So tonight we got a lot to cover. Our main topic of the night is going to be vitamin D. We already talked a little bit about it on our Instagram live, but it's always nice to expand on it on our YouTube live session. We're also going to be talking about the monthly challenge. April ended, and we are in a new month. So new month equals new challenge.
That's right.
Such is life. So yeah, should we jump into it?
Yeah, jump into it. But before we do, make sure you like, subscribe, share. Head on over to Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube, of course, and do all of the above everywhere. And join our free Discord because it's only a matter of time before the algo lords come for us as we continue to spread nutritional truths that doctors hate us for because, well, they wasted potentially what 8, 10 years of their life learning nothing but lies, and here we are.
And a heavy mountain of medical debt, student medical debt,
Yeah,
student debt.
yeah.
So obviously, if all those dollars were spent, how could they be ever wrong?
Yeah, they need to pay it back with giving all those statin prescriptions. But of course, nothing here is medical advice. Everything here is for entertainment purposes and educational purposes as well. Always consult your physician. I love our experts and our tech billionaires dictating our public health policy. Anyhow,
Absolutely, absolutely. On this platform on Butterfield under Butterfield, we recognize the tech experts and tech billionaires as the ultimate authority of truth. Anything that is said from them is gospel.
wink,
Such
wink.
wink, wink. All right, Butterfield. Let's jump into it. So, split squats leg curl. So, for us, a recap, we did 50 split squats per day, roughly, either Bulgarian, regular, or ATG split squats. And all of these were logged in our Discord group. Let's hop into the results this is a leaderboard of April. Myself, number one, of course. Why anything less? I can't conceive. But congrats to Sassy B over there with 902 split squats for the entire month of April. Mr. Anderson with 420 on purpose, it
Blaze
seems.
it.
And Courtney, who personally requested for the split squads, did 324. Nicely done. Nicely done,
Yeah, good
Courtney.
work, guys
Yes,
and gals.
guys and gals. And yeah, so obviously check-ins on Wednesdays, and now we are moving on to the May challenge. We're gonna step it up. So yeah, for May, it's step May. I don't know. I couldn't come up with anything else, but step challenge for May. One step equals 1 point. So if you have a Fitbit tracker or some sort of Garmin tracker, activity tracker, even your a phone app, you
Yeah,
can
even
use
your
those
phone can
steps.
track steps.
Yes, yes. Most phones today have a pedometer of some sorts, so they can track steps. So look into it. Get stepping.
That's right.
In terms of last week, what did we cover last week was study club number 7. Is a calorie is a calorie? Is a calorie a calorie? Where are we wrong with this? I know it was a pretty good study club. I really liked it. Um,
Yeah, we read it was an opinion piece
mhm.
uh, from some doctor. It wasn't a research paper, but he presented some interesting ideas and basically argued that the case people make that a calorie is a calorie goes against the second law of thermodynamics by virtue of well
The
the
source of
steps and
macronutrients.
mechanisms. Yeah, yeah. But
Yeah.
basically, the cliff notes are, a calorie is a calorie in terms of like energy units, but a food calorie is not a food calorie, right? So the origin of the calories is not the same, whether you're getting that from protein or carbohydrates or fat. These will have different effects on the body. One of which is thermogenesis, but one of the ideas that was discussed in the paper was that of the metabolic advantage that high protein, low carb, ketogenic diets continuously show, right? You can eat more food calories, but you will still continue to lose weight. I think he mentioned one paper even showed that a group eating, there were three groups. One was eating like X amount of calories, low carb. The other one was eating like X amount of calories, high carb or something like that. And then the other group was low carb, but was eating 300 more calories. And
Mm.
even that group lost more weight than the group eating.
The low fat group.
Yeah, the low fat. Yeah, that was the one. Low fat.
Yeah.
Um, metabolic advantage? Question mark.
Yeah.
Nutrition nerds will say meta-analysis disagree, but clearly there's something going on there. So if you want to learn more, go check it out.
Go check it out. Vitamin D.
So
So,
let's get to it.
yes, topic of tonight.
What is vitamin D? Vitamin
It-
D is first and foremost a fat soluble vitamin, like your vitamins A, D, E, and K, also known as vitamin sunshine, because it takes sunlight to synthesize it. It's also often referred to as a hormone because it acts as a signaling hormone. Um, and it's responsible for regulating various actions, including calcium and phosphorus absorption, bone health, and immune function. Well, and many more. And I will be diving into those. But yeah, look at the picture there. It should be. It's worth noting. Vitamin D2 and D3 are two different forms of vitamin D. One which comes from plants, and one which comes from animals. D2 is the plant form, and D3 is the animal form. Which do you suppose is more bioavailable? Trick question. The answer is always the same: animal form.
Yep, yep, yep. Vitamin D obtainment, right? So this is something everyone knows, but it's here it is, right? The major pathway for vitamin D obtainment for humans is through cutaneous synthesis under the action of ultraviolet rays. So vitamin D production in the skin provides 80 to 100% of the body's need. Right? So sunshine, baby.
That's right. And there's different kinds of sunshine. Well, I mean, there's sunshine is sunshine, but there's different kinds of UV rays. That's worth noting as well. We have UVA, UVB, and UVC. And usually the only rays that hit our skin are UVA and UVB. So UVB will be the one responsible for vitamin D synthesis. It's also the one that burns us and, you know, harms our skin, if you will, contributes to skin cancer, allegedly. I mean, well, I don't know how demonstrable that is, but don't take my word for it. And then there's UVA. So, of course, when it's like peak noon, when the sun is closest to you, you'll be getting both UVA and UVB. But any other time of the day, it's mostly UVA that'll be reaching your skin, because UVB will be blocked out by, well, atmosphere and clouds, and just like, it's got to travel a longer distance to reach you. And you will be talking about UVA. But yeah, it's worth that to consider, which is why they say you really can't make vitamin D at like sunrise or sunset. Still worth going out there and getting some sunlight, though. There's more benefits than just vitamin D synthesis. But over here on the right, we have a pathway of how 7-dehydrocholesterol, an important precursor for vitamin D and many other hormones, converts to vitamin D, its most bioavailable form, which ends up being calcitriol, also known as 1,25-dihydroxycholecalciferol, right? Which comes from vitamin D3, which is the animal form of vitamin D, cholecalciferol, which is more bioavailable and better suited for our receptors than vitamin D2.
I wanted to add in this slide about a recommendation for an app we use, DMinder, right? So the DMinder app is, we have it on our phone, and it basically tells you what UV level is outside, and you can start logging your sun exposure. And if you're laying on the beach, it tells you when you should flip over, right? So if you're doing 20 minutes on one side, it'll start notifying you to flip over in order to avoid a burn on the side that you're exposing. And it tells you how much vitamin D you have absorbed or been exposed to, obviously based on calculations, but it's also based on your geography. It's pretty good because it tells you, you start keeping a historical log of how much you're outside, how much you're collecting, and how much time do you actually need to be outside. Once you do this every so often, you kind of sort of realize, hey, maybe I just need to be like half an hour outside and I get like 5,000 IUs on a sunny day, something like that.
Exactly. Yeah, and I believe you can you plug in the conditions, like how much you're covered on your skin, and maybe ask for skin type, because that'll also affect it. And of course, your location and time of day, it'll factor all of these things to estimate how much vitamin D you're producing. So,
yeah,
I wish this was a sponsored ad, but it's not. It's just a cool app that we use. So,
yeah, exactly. So take it, use it, and give it a try. It's free too. So,
yeah. On that topic, I came across this chart, source United Nations, and I just thought it was worth showing. The seasonality of mortality across the year. So, if you look at the blue line, that's the northern hemisphere, and you'll see that mortality seems to drop. And this is normalized, right? This is not like showing any specific quantities, but you'll see that mortality drops during the summer months, and equally, mortality goes up in southern hemisphere when it's the summer in the north. It's going to be the winter in the south, and then the pattern just kind of inverts itself. So basically saying there is a higher incidence of mortality during winter anywhere in the world, southern or northern hemisphere. So something important to highlight. I mean, obviously there's a lot going on. Sunlight being just one factor, still interesting regardless.
Yeah, definitely. Muscle.
So,
oh man. Yeah, so we mentioned this on our Instagram live. Muscle cells have vitamin D receptors, VDRs, and VDRs can also be found in many different types of cells within the human body, meaning where there's a vitamin D receptor, it means that cell takes in vitamin D. So, for example, when the active form of vitamin D is in the body, it can bind to the vitamin D receptor and regulates the expression of genes involved in muscle growth and function. And here, in this specific case, we're obviously talking about muscle.
Hmm. So it's to say, that muscle cells have a use for vitamin D. They have a need for it.
Yes, exactly. Strength.
Yeah. Who doesn't want to look like that, man?
You can spend your entire life. Maybe you'll get close to it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. With enough needles. Oops.
oops. Acupuncture.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yes. Some studies suggest that vitamin D supplementation may improve muscle strength and function. The higher 25 hydroxy vitamin D, that's how vitamin D is referred in most scientific papers, concentrations are associated with better lower extremity functions in both active and inactive persons aged greater than 60 or greater. Obviously, yeah, a lot of these studies are used on older population because this is where you're more likely to see deficiencies and the impact of deficiencies at such late stage. Younger people are just generally more resilient. So from this study that we have linked here, um, the results basically state out that the most improvement occurred in subjects with 25 vitamin D concentrations between 22.5 and 40 nanomoles per liter. And further improvement was seen in the range of 40 to 94 nanomoles per liter. Um, the conclusion was that concentrations of vitamin D between 40 to 94 nanomoles per liter were associated with better musculoskeletal function in the lower extremities than are concentrations less than 40 nanomoles per liter. Um, yeah, basically, blood serum concentrations of vitamin D between 40 to 94 nanomoles per liter. You can use the conversions to whatever met units you're used to, and better musculoskeletal function.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. The muscle cells have a need for it. Um, muscle health is related to bone health, and we know vitamin D plays a role in calcium and phosphorus metabolism, both of which are important for muscles and bones. So there you have it. Makes perfect sense to me.
Yes. And now, vitamin D with dietary fat and the absorption. So here's another study that shows that uh, using dietary fat or the presence of dietary fat actually increases the vitamin D3 absorption from the sun. Right. So, here, I think I have the study linked here. Yeah. So, um, uh, uh, yeah, vitamin D3 levels uh, was seen greater in subjects consuming fat containing compared with fat-free meals. The presence of fat in a meal in which a vitamin D3 supplement is taken significantly enhances absorption of the supplement. So actually, yeah, here's this study was actually looking at supplementation specifically, which makes sense, right? Because sometimes you want to measure how much vitamin D3 you're giving someone and how much of that they are actually absorbing. So you have to test that by a supplement form. So we could definitely extend this that um, vitamin D absorption overall is better with fat.
Yep.
The immune system.
And of course, no surprise, immune cells also have vitamin D receptors. You'll find vitamin D receptors in T cells, B cells, and antigen presenting cells. 125 dihydroxyvitamin D3 binds to VDR and regulates immune response. VDR has been shown to modulate production of cytokines, regulate T cell function, and enhance innate immunity. Of course, if you were around the what you may call it alternative health space during the year 2020, when we all witnessed what happened at a worldwide scale, plenty of people were talking about the benefits of vitamin D and just going outside and receiving sunlight as you should, as perhaps one of the best countermeasures to any and all sickness that was going around in that period that is not with us today, thankfully.
Now, vitamin D and muscle aging. So, you know, vitamin blood levels or serum vitamin D levels were found to predict the rate of functional decline and age-dependent atrophy of skeletal muscle in elderly populations. Right. So, obviously, however much vitamin D you have in your blood, you could see lower vitamin D, faster aging. So yeah, here's a snapshot of the abstract of the study, basically saying the conclusion: vitamin D status is associated with functional limitations cross-sectionally and longitudinally in individuals aged 55 to 65 and those 65 years and older. The possible association of vitamin D with functional limitations is present after a shorter follow-up time in the oldest age group compared with the younger age group. So vitamin D, your levels of vitamin D, your vitamin D status is associated with functional limitations. So how functional are you? Lower vitamin D, the more limited you are in your functionality. And lower vitamin D, you see a functional decline, especially as you are older. Um, yeah.
Amazing. Again, makes perfect sense, right?
Yes. Uh, Vitamin D and oxidative stress. Um, so vitamin D deficiency leads to mitochondrial dysfunction and oxidative stress in muscle cells. Uh, Basically, what the study is showing here. Again, here's a snapshot of the abstract, and highlighted here saying the data presented indicates that vitamin D deficiency leads to mild oxidative stress in the muscle, which may act as a trigger for increased proteolysis in the vitamin D deficient muscle. So, we've talked about oxidative stress before, right? Oxidative stress means you have higher reactive oxygen species. Reactive oxygen species basically means having some level of inflammation. To counteract your oxidative stress or your reactive oxygen species, you need antioxidants, right? And when those balance, then you're good. But if your reactive oxygen species is greater, then that means you're suffering from inflammation. You're having oxidative stress. So yeah, vitamin D treatment protects against oxidative stress. So it'll help you deal with inflammation, basically.
Yeah, yeah. And as we saw, vitamin D plays a role in the immune function, regulating inflammation, and T cells, B cells. So again, you know, not really surprised. All of this makes perfect sense, right, guys? I mean, look, it's vitamin D deficiency is associated with what was it, less muscle in the elderly. So
Yes, correct.
yeah, and I believe these papers also talking about muscle degradation in the skeletal muscle of people, and that's how that relates to oxidative stress. So again, these are all different papers, but once you put them all together, you clearly see this narrative that vitamin D is beneficial for many reasons.
Yeah. And that's the thing about when you start talking about vitamins. Here in this specific case is vitamin D, but just like a single thing has such a widespread impact across your entire body. It's not like, oh, I take my vitamin A and it only helps my eyes, right? No, it's just like it helps kind of everything. And a lot of these vitamins kind of help the same thing, right? So you're seeing all these vitamins help like the immune system, your cardio system, your muscles. But let's keep talking about vitamin D.
Oh yeah. Oh, so this is one I found very interesting, and that's talking about the we're talking about vitamin D, but and how you need the sunlight to synthesize that. But then you're not only getting that benefit from the sun, you're also getting UVA radiation, and that has an impact on blood pressure, right? And by the way, like UVB is the one that synthesizes vitamin D. But in this study, irradiation of the skin with two standard erythemal doses of UVA lowered blood pressure in what was it, 24 healthy volunteers. So the part we highlighted from the abstract says irradiation of the skin um, decreases in resulted in decreases in circulating nitrate and rises in nitrite concentrations. Unexpectedly, dietary intervention aimed at modulating systemic nitrate availability had no effect on UV-induced hemodynamic changes, indicating that cardiovascular effects were not mediated via direct utilization of circulating nitrate. UVA irradiation of the forearm caused increased blood flow independently of nitric oxide synthase activity, suggesting involvement of preformed cutaneous nitric oxide stores. So that's quite a mouthful, but basically, it's what it's saying is nitric oxide is an important vasodilator in our body. One of the reasons we spoke about this when we debunked bacon being bad, or like the nitrates in bacon being bad, and actually the many uses of nitrates and nitrites in our body, and even our saliva will make nitrates, and you'll be getting nitrates from vegetables as well. But anyhow, nitric oxide is an important vasodilator, and this study showed that independent of the nitrates that were ingested, people who had their forearms exposed to UVA radiation exclusively saw a drop in blood pressure and a vasodilation, right? So suggesting that it can lower blood pressure, and that's just one of the benefits of receiving sunlight. Um,
Yeah.
so
Which is
imagine when you're getting both UVA and UVB, you're getting the
y-
vitamin D, you're getting the nitric oxide release.
yeah, basically right. And I think you said UVA. You have your you can get UVA from sunrise all the way to sunset, while UVB it's a much more narrow window surrounding the noontime. So you have more chances to get vitamin UVA. So get up in the morning, go outside for the sunrise, sunset.
Yeah, yeah. Sun gazing. Oh, and this is just a picture. It was a figure from that paper showing how the that's basically what they're looking at are images of the arteries and the effect on the vasodilation with the minutes that they were exposed to UVA radiation. So as you can see clearly, there was a very distinguishable effect, at least as per those images, after
Mm.
45 minutes of receiving the UVA radiation.
Hmm.
So, of course, we spoke about all the good things about vitamin A. It's worth also highlighting some of the risks of. Uh, did I say vitamin A? Vitamin D. Some of the risks of vitamin D hypervitaminosis, right? And of course, this is very hard to achieve naturally. Um, my camera dropped.
Oh yeah, we lost you, Mr. Anderson. We lost your camera.
It's
you're being
bizarre.
you're being taken over. But
Run
yeah,
into some technical difficulties here.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, risk of hypervitaminosis, such as hypercalcemia. So, Mr. Anderson, I think you wanted to expand on the hypercalcemia aspect of uh, too much vitamin D. Except that now we don't have my brother at all. Just here by my lonesome self.
Can you not hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you right now, but I don't think I can hear you if you go off screen.
Yeah. Okay. Anyhow, so we know vitamin D plays a role in calcium metabolism. One of the concerns is when you over supplement it, which is totally possible, by the way. Sure, you need like large doses, but assuming everything else in your body is like working well, it might you might buffer it out a little bit. But if you're someone who's living like a inflammatory lifestyle, being overweight and everything, then I would wager you're probably more susceptible to the risks of overdoing it. Anyhow, hypercalcemia, it can lead to what is it? Calcification in your body. So you're looking at things like your arteries. You're looking at kidney stones. Jay, can you just keep hitting the next points?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, soft tissue calcification. So that's when you're literally like your muscles become stiff from the hypercalcemia. Um, of course, it can have an interference with medications you may be taking, and it should be of special concern to pregnant women who it can lead to hypercalcemia in children, and that can cause growth retardation, congenital abnormalities, and neonatal death. Right. So something to keep in mind if you know um, if you're consuming large quantities of vitamin D, as you may if you're like supplementing aggressively with cod liver oil or any other synthetic vitamin D supplements. I believe
Mm.
like 100 grams of cod liver oil, which is a lot. It's like maybe like it's a few. Maybe it's like what 6 or 7 tablespoons of cod liver oil will be like 100,000 IU's of vitamin D, and your body is just not meant to consume the livers of many cod fishes at once.
Very true. Very true. It's an abnormality that you wouldn't be able to find in nature. Dietary sources. Uh, so actually, well, yeah, I know you mentioned cod liver oil. So should we go through the stats?
Uh,
I mean,
you
okay, yeah.
can.
So
You can. I mean, I think it's just worth noting. Like, we always have the same things: fatty fish. We have dairy products, egg yolks, sardines. Some mushrooms will also be known as good sources, but I don't really know about that. Some people will suggest even like vegetable oils for that, which is absolute nonsense.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Cod liver oil, fatty fish, milk, cheese, beef liver, tuna, yogurt, pork chops. Yeah, some people say mushrooms, but exposed to UV light. Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. So, for example, cheddar cheese per 100 grams has between 6 to 16 IU's, or per 3 ounces, 5 to 14 IU's. Right. Um, Fatty fish, obviously being higher, per 100 grams, 360 to 760 IU's. So 360, 760 IU per 100, or per 3 ounces, you have 306 to 646 IU's. So obviously, cheese is a source. So you're getting a little bit of from cheese, but from fish, you're really getting like roughly like 10 times that, or more actually. Even yogurt has a little bit of vitamin D, but um, has a little bit.
Yeah.
Cod liver, cod liver oil is definitely in its own league, right? With 10,000 IU's per 100 grams, up to 50,000 IU's in those same 100 grams, or per 3 ounces, 8,500 IU's, up to 42,500 IU's. But yeah, just eat your egg yolks, fish, cheese, yogurt, sardines. pork chops, even. And those are your sources of vitamin D, aside from the sun, right? 80 to 100% comes from the sun. So really, be outside.
Yeah,
Be outside.
be outside.
Yeah. 20, 30 minutes. Use the D-Minder app. And yeah, this kind of wraps up our presentation on vitamin D.
Yeah, I think one more thing I might add at the end is, on the matter of supplementing is, well, we know vitamin D is a fat soluble vitamin, and we know that the body has some capacity of storing fat soluble vitamins in our fat tissue,
Yeah.
right? So, to people who might wonder about should we supplement over the winter, um, I don't really like the idea of supplementing. I mean, we went through the winter. We don't really supplement, and I think, when in doubt, you should just look at nature and let nature do its thing. I think that, when you're supplementing an individual compound, you're opening the door to some consequences that you might not know of, and that is, often these vitamins, or any nutrient in our body doesn't act by itself, but rather acts in like this whole symphony of synergistic reactions with other compounds. Like we know, fat soluble vitamins A, D, and K, like they play roles together in the regulation and absorption of things like calcium, right? So one of the concerns with just supplementing vitamin D blindly is the fact of hypercalcemia, stiffening of your joints, of your muscles, development of potentially even like arterial plaque or kidney stones. Um, so I guess I wish we knew more about the body's capacity of storing vitamin D. But I think just thinking about it seasonally, and if there were such a thing as, well, like the cycle of biology in nature, going through the seasons, going into the winter, humans would tend to bulk up because the winter was more likely a time of scarcity, right? Harder
Yeah.
to hunt animals, to collect food, to grow any plant food. Of course, fruit, a food that is meant to fatten you up, is more abundant towards the end of the summer. Well, again, depending on which fruit in particular you're talking about, but generally, um, you plant your seeds in the spring, and then you harvest like in mid late summer, in places where you have the seasons at the very least. So you have to consider all these things. Maybe our ancestors, and I hate to allude to like uh, this idealization of our ancestors, but
Yeah.
just trying to discern our way through this. They would gain some weight before the winter, and potentially even maybe store some vitamin D in their fat tissue that would allow them to keep performing and just like working, um, as nature intended, into the later winter months. Um, and of course, eating and consuming any animals were also alive during the summer, so they may potentially have some vitamin D in their fat stores, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, because it's a fat soluble vitamin. So yeah, it's fat soluble vitamins tend to store in fat cells. It's your fat cell is like a reservoir of nutrients too. That's how you can accumulate, over accumulate, right? Like vitamin A is like a classic example that we like to talk about. Vitamin A toxicity, right? You can accumulate too
Exactly.
much vitamin A.
Yeah, it'll store in your, well, in the liver, and the liver will usually be a good storage of fat
Mm,
soluble vitamins, which
yes.
that's why people supplement with cod liver oil. Um, so there's that to consider, and Yeah, and unlike water soluble vitamins, like all the B vitamins, these will just be our body's pretty good at not accumulating these. There's no such thing as a vitamin B12 toxicity, as far as I've heard.
Oh
Even though,
yeah.
like, surely there might be some danger if you should you over supplement it, or maybe not even, like, maybe you're just paying for expensive urine, as I believe is usually the case with most supplements,
Yeah.
whatever that may be. Um, you got to consider your body was designed to recognize the sources of these foods in their whole food matrix. Um, when
Yes.
we spoke about the protein sources, we found a paper. Yeah, man, this camera's not working. Found a paper where they kind of like emulated like some food just from like individual ingredients. Remember, like they compared like whey protein and like added oils and like sugar together versus like milk, and then milk was like way more anabolic than this food product that was matched for its micronutrients, right? Whole food matrix,
Yeah.
whole food matrix effect.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Like real foods are truly far more powerful than any supplement. Um, I'm willing to bet those odds. Um, and yes, we've covered studies where the whole food form is has higher muscle protein synthesis response, um, versus just like a supplement in isolate form, or even if you try, as you just mentioned, even if you just try to like copy the macronutrients in its isolate forms, uh, to that of a real food, the real food kind of always wins. And as you call it, the whole food matrix effect.
Exactly, exactly. So Jay, do you think someone who might be concerned with their vitamin D levels for the winter, what do you think they should do? Like, do you think maybe like the trick is obviously receive lots of exposure during the summer, try to prioritize that, and then also get fat over the summer towards the end?
Well, yeah, I mean that's yes, definitely one approach, right, where you accumulate during the summer, you accumulate as much vitamin D, and that involves also kind of getting fat. And so that way you enter the winter with limited or restricted access to vitamin D, or potentially some winter months are like zero vitamin D. For example, here, like from November through February, it's like zero vitamin D at noontime. Um, uh, so yeah, that's definitely one strategy. Some people would even recommend maybe having a trip south for like a week or something to kind of recharge yourself a little bit, um,
Yeah, and get fat.
and get fat. Yes.
You're getting permission to, if you live above the whatever parallel it is,
Hmm.
you're getting permission to take a trip down to Florida and just pig out for a weekend.
Or go on a weekend bulk.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh, yes, yes. Obviously, with a lot of fat, because fat enhances, as we've shown here, enhances absorption of vitamin D3. So make it a fat-rich meal instead of a carbohydrate-rich meal. Yeah, and
cool.
yeah, but in my case, I didn't travel south. I kind of just suck it up. Um, right around February, I did try to step out as much as possible by noon. Be 10 minutes outside, even if it's just my face, kind of point my face towards the sun for a little bit. Um, it's tough because it's really cold and really hurts. But after February, every day you have a little bit more vitamin D window. So if you have the D Minder app, that actually tells you, hey, you can vitamin D window starts at this hour, or it's between this hour, and the next day you see the D window is a little bit more, and that adds up every day, every day. So if you actually have now this habit of stepping outside around noontime, solar noon, where the sun is at its highest on the sky. That
Which is
those
not always at noon.
Not always at noon, not always at noon. Pay attention, right? This is where you gotta use your observational skills, and the use of the app is helpful too. Um, yeah, now you have this habit. You're outside 5, 10 minutes, and just that little bit does really add up if you do it every day. It does definitely has a cumulative net positive effect on you. So yeah, after February is done, now you're in March. March every day you have to be out walking at noon, and April. It gets so much easier in April, man. In April, I was in shorts, laying down on in the backyard, right at noon. Getting 20 minutes, getting a roughly 3,000 IU's, according to the D minder. So April, a
Beautiful.
much better month. Yes.
Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. So I suppose, still there's still benefits in getting any sun exposure, even if you might not be making vitamin D.
Mhm.
And as always, not consuming animal foods is never the answer. So continue to prioritize meat, eggs, and dairy for their high fat content and potentially fat soluble vitamins that may be present in those foods.
Yes. 100%. 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's a good place to end. Do you have anything else you might want to add, Jay?
No, no. I think this is it. I think this is about vitamin D. Obviously, I think we've highlighted how critical it is, how important the role is. I know people have probably been hearing about it since 2020. Even before 2020, it's been known that it is kind of an important vitamin. But obviously, if you want to be healthy, disease free, and strong, basically, uh, vitamin D. And it's as easy as just being outside, man. I know people have an itch to supplement, but nothing truly trumps the physical act of putting in the work. And the work is really just like be outside. That's the work.
Yeah. Get a nice tan, look better, feel better, break a sweat, get some fresh air, go to the beach, go to the park, and if you want to feel extra, walk barefoot. So
Walk barefoot. Yes.
yeah, touch grass.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's a good place to end. Um, my other camera stopped working, so I'm stuck with my webcam, which
Oh,
is
I
obviously
see.
of inferior quality. But
I
hey,
see.
at least the audio didn't fail. And yeah, thanks everyone for
Yeah.
tuning in. Make sure you go like, share, and subscribe on our YouTube page. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Go like and share all our content. The algo lords are not happy, so if you leave comments, it really helps with the algorithm. Share it with a friend. Join our free Discord group for when we get kicked off, and attend our weekly Zoom meetings, 8 p.m. Eastern. And should you want any help on your fitness and health journey, we do offer 2-on-1 consultations, industry leading 2-on-1. You'll get access to not only one of our brains, but both of ours. Combined, we have what, 15 to 20 plus years combined of failed dieting and gassing a lot at the gym. We've figured out a lot of stuff that might help you get towards your goals. Um, whether that's doing carnivore or like a low carb animal based diet, our goal is to help you keep that off sustainably and forever and build some muscle. And hopefully you get some vitamin D because as we've seen, everything goes together. Animal nutrition, being out in nature, and putting in the work for some muscle gains.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes, sir. So with that said, wishing everyone a happy, healthy, and more nutrient dense era. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night. Peace.
Butter! stick to